I'm included in that. I don't understand the logic behind what the writers have
They just
done.
wanted to put a bit of parkour in there.
Well, that's right, yeah. It seems to me like they wanted a bit of action in a scene that didn't need it. But no, to me, I'm still a strong believer, and I have gone back and watched previous series again and found enjoyment in that. So I think this is one that, when it's all finished in potentially 2 or 3 years, I will pick up and watch again as a box set. And I think that for me is one of the things, and it's certainly the feature of the top 3 where I've watched them more than once. This was very hard to pick the order of these 3. I think I had number 1 down, and I don't think either of you will be surprised by what number 1 is. But I did go back and forth on 2 and 3. In the end, I decided that number 3 is the X-Files.
Okay.
I kind of, for a long time, thought I discovered this show and told the rest of the world to watch it. I remember it getting very little hype, very little promotion, and it was just on. It was just, now we bring you the hit US drama, The X-Files.
I have to say, I remember the theme tune being quite prominent, more so
Absolutely.
than... It made the charts, I think, did it not?
It did, didn't
it?
This
was in an era where I remember you could get X-Files stationery. You could have an X-Files pencil case, an X-Files,
Yeah,
I think I can speak for
phenomenon, wasn't it?
Luke on this, which both of our first exposure to the X-Files came with that video, The Simpsons, the Springfield one.
Yeah.
Who are you guys, anyhow?
Agents Mulder and Scully, FBI.
FBI, huh? Excuse me. All right, they're on to us. Get them back to SeaWorld.
Hello, children. I bring you love.
It's a monster! Kill it! Kill it!
It's not a monster. It's Mr. Burns.
Oh, it's Mr. Burns. Kill it! Kill it!
Where were you in your life then in 90s?
Oh, I was
When did this start?
95?
95, yeah. I was definitely still living at home, but I was probably, where old was I in 95? I was about 20, so this was must-watch television. Again, it was very much a case of you can't miss this. I remember...
Actually, 93 program.
Well, as I say, it's a bit earlier than that, so maybe I was still at sixth form. Maybe, yeah, because I might have been just about 18.
But when it aired in this country, I suppose.
I'm not sure. I don't think it aired that later. I think the first series showed in America, and then we got it.
Most of these things on your list, do you tend to watch solo?
The next one on the list is one that I've enjoyed watching with my uncle, and we've enjoyed talking about it and taking it apart. But this one definitely was one that I recommended to other people. This was the one, as I say, I think I found it and went, this is so good, you should watch it.
Your own personal discovery.
Yeah, and I felt like I was the one going around at sixth form or wherever and going, have you seen the X-Files? No, you really should watch it, it's great. Fancied the pants off Dana Scully as well. It's not fair to say that she was a fairly attractive young lady. She was like in FHM, wasn't she? She was the voted sexiest woman in the world. And the reason the show doesn't make the top 2 is because eventually everyone got a little bit tired of them not giving you any answers. And that was the whole thing. This was a suspense show. This was a R-rated
like Lost.
Yeah, in that sense. And because it never really gave you an answer, and even though it lasted 9 series, and I say it has made 2 films and a comeback this year, even still, we've never really been given much answers, particularly the first 5 series. were very
I
good.
found here air dates. First time it aired in the UK was on the BBC was the 19th of September 1994. Sky had it on the 26th of January 1994.
And I think that would have been a time when very few people had Sky One.
As someone who doesn't like sci-fi, I think it immediately puts you out of its audience. Not that it hasn't got a massive audience anyway, but it wouldn't be something that I could go, you know what, I'll give the X-Files a try. Because the minute they find an alien in a beer bottle or whatever they find,
the minute that Mulder says, did you realise that aliens did this? Yeah, I mean, it almost became, as you say, the Simpsons episode was a very good parody of the X-Files itself.
And the other thing that struck me as a non-viewer, and I don't know where this perception of it comes from, was there any humour in the X-Files at all? Because whenever I turned it on, David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson seemed to be playing it so sort of straight-laced and dull. I never... they weren't very animated.
There was a lot of dark humour, so there was a lot of a lot of dark humour in the series. There was a trio of characters called the Lone Gunmen who were conspiracy theorist nuts who provided a lot of comedy. They were quite funny and actually ended up... one of the things as well that I would say about the X-Files is it is a show in which a lot of people can point to and say, that's where that came from. And spin-offs out of the X-Files came out. There was, the Lone Gunman. There was also another that you could say that Millennium, a serial killer show, was a spin-off of the X-Files, also written by the creator Chris Carter. Space Above and Beyond was another show that was written by James Wong and Dean Morgan, who were two of the writers. And, of course, Breaking Bad, written by Vince Gilligan, who was a lead writer on the X-Files for a couple of years. And actually,
The Simpsons.
Also, The Simpsons as well. Then there's a lot of people who were on the X-Files. Did you know that Jack Black was in the X-Files for an episode?
I think
I read something about Cher recently or something.
Yeah, well, there's a thing going around at the moment about she had a cameo cut, but they were quite happy with it because it meant that the episode worked a bit better or something. But I don't know if that was the new series or the later series.
Did the most recent series spoil it for you, or did it just add more to the...
No, because I think it worked as equal homage and new material. There were a couple of episodes that I looked... There was one with Rhys Darby playing a bloke who turns into an alien, and it was done for comedy, but it was terrible. So there are some times when it doesn't work, and I think that was the point. In every 24 episodes of the X-Files in a series, there were a few stinkers. So it dated back to the sort of Star Trek, the one where they get stuck on the holodeck episode, or the one where they go and nothing happens. So there was that element. I think that's the downside of an American series, length, I think.
These aren't ordinary dramas. These are Gary's Desert Island Dramas.
Well, number 2 is the oldest show on the list, and it is Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I'm on my 4th or 5th watch of this series. Pure and utter hype that made me watch this show. This thing exploded. I think, again, it was BBC Two. I don't know why I think that, but it was certainly early BBC. And it was a hit in America because it was a big whodunit, and there was a sort of like a crazy cast and a slightly strange storyline, full of mystery and full of intrigue. America just got totally and utterly gripped. I think probably beyond the point of fanaticism. And I remember watching it when it was out over here and not fully kind of grasping and comprehending a lot of it. Only in probably my 2nd or 3rd watch did I sort of get a lot of the plots and storylines that David Lynch was trying to put out there. It was,
Gary, BBC Two, you were right, in 90 and 91.
That's it, yeah. It is a show with a legend. In other words, there is more behind it than what you see. Conspiracy theory nuts, and all the sorts of things that come out. People have their theories. There was, again, series of spin-offs. There was a very bad, strange movie called Fire Walk With Me, and then there were sort of other documentaries and shows about it. There is a new series coming out next year. Now, is it HBO or Showtime? I think it's Showtime, isn't it?
Showtime. So where was Gary?
I just said
91.
91.
I probably just finished GCSEs. I was not a popular kid at school, but I wasn't a bullied kid. I was kind of the geek. No. So I was very much into comic books, sci-fi, but I was also into sports and stuff like that. So I kind of flitted around all the different groups.
It's
in
weird
school,
how you weren't bullied then, but you're bullied now on almost weekly basis. So, yeah, on a Thursday.
If I ever meet you, you're in for it, sunshine.
That was a threat. I'm going to record it.
And a sort of
This was very much a recommendation by my uncle. You know, he and I certainly would consider this a show that he and I bonded over because we both loved it. We both watched it. We both watched it together. His original idea for a podcast that we first had when we first started talking about it was to rewatch Twin Peaks and do a podcast on it. There is this kind of fad now of rewatching old shows and talking about it, and there's an interest in that.
When you watch it now, do you think you watch it with a fondness of the time when you watched it the first? You know what I mean?
A little
when
bit.
You watch something, you remember back.
I think I watch it more with the nostalgia of, I know what's coming. Oh, this is so good. It was such a weird show to put in a genre because, you know, in the first few episodes, it was about a young girl who had been murdered in a small northeastern American town, and it was a murder mystery. But then you started to get this really weird elements, and in one episode, a little man spoke in a red room backwards.
I got good news. That the mule wash is going to, but doesn't cheat or almost exactly wash for farmer.
This is an uncategorizable show sometimes. I mean, you could even say The X-Files is very influenced by Twin Peaks. But I think as well, the other thing that David Lynch did, and Robert Frost, the other creator, did so well... Sorry, Mark Frost, my apologies. They took this idea of small-town America. And I think, again, America is fascinated by the fact that in America is such a vast country. Between the two coasts, in the middle of the country, you've got thousands of these small little communities that are perceived as weird on the outside, and then this one does actually appear weird.
If somebody's listening to this now and they've heard you talk about Twin Peaks and your love for it before, and they think it's the sort of show they would enjoy, even though we're going back to 1990, you would say it's still...
Yeah,
obviously it's going to look like it's 1990, obviously, it can't help that, but in terms of its the way it's done and the story, you think there's still some...
Oh, absolutely.
Something there.
I think of the shows that I've mentioned, it's the most timeless, even against number one. And that will become apparent when I talk about it. Even though, yes, the show is set in that period, it never dates. You know, there's not an over-reliance on early mobile phones or anything like that would date it, which you do get in the X-Files when they pull out this huge laptop and put it down and go, right.
Well, that's what spawned the first couple of series of 24 when they're all obsessed with their Palm Pilots, and I didn't even remember what one of those was.
Exactly.
You know,
and I think one of the very first episodes of the 24, he gets a picture sent through to his phone, and it takes like 20 minutes to download. And I remember thinking that, gosh, what a different time we live in, you know.
I know. I don't know whether 24 will be on Matt's list, because I think he's the only one of us who's watched it all, but it'd be interesting.
I've not watched.
Retrospectively, through television, people talk about 24 as a show, and you'd think it would be on one of our lists.
I think the reason I didn't put 24 is because the later series did really let me down, and I didn't continue past Series 6.
How do you feel about the new Twin Peaks, though?
I'm worried.
As a fan, you must be intrigued, but worried as well.
I'm excited and worried. There's a lot of old cast members coming back, which is good.
And they will be old.
And then we've heard from David Lynch that he is going to create new characters and new storylines. He's going to put things into the show that got taken out by the network in the first series because it was on ABC, wasn't it? They did have a lot of problems getting things through the censors. So he says he will include things which you know he now doesn't have that restriction because it's on Showtime. So yeah, I think it will be intriguing. But yeah, I'm worried how it will not tarnish, but how it will make people think about Twin Peaks in general.
And so we come to the inevitable end.
Yeah, I reckon we could probably all say this as one.
Is
ready?
it critical?
No.
It's not. Oh, damn. I don't know what it is then.
Wallander?
It's not Undercover, no.
Damn.
Chronicles of Shannara?
It's not the Shannara Chronicles.
Is it Rizzoli and Isles?
Yeah, no. Should we say... I feel like we could say this one together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. The West Wing. So not really together. Then.
No, there's always a slight delay on Skype.
I did it after the 1, 2, 3, and you two hung on.
Didn't.
1, 2, 3, go. Not 1, 2, 3.
Well, you didn't say.
Don't have a row. We've done so well up to this point.
I now believe I'm on my 10th or 11th viewing of this show.
Yeah,
no
you've got
wonder you
so
never
many
see
other
anything
things
new.
to watch.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but no, this is all making sense now, though, isn't it?
It does. There was a period of time, whenever I had a day off ill, I would pop this on.